When you feel like no one wants to pay your prices. Hi, my name's Liz Stamford. I'm one half of BABA, the Birth and Baby Business Academy, the community membership for birth and baby business owners.
And my name's Anna Lagrange, and I'm the other half of BABA Business. And before we get started, I'd just like to encourage you to subscribe, like if you can review our show if you're listening on Spotify or your podcast, whoever provides your podcast. That makes a big difference to us. And do share with anyone who you think would find this episode useful.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. We get lots of lovely messages every week about how helpful our podcast is. So that's great. That's why we keep doing it. But it would be great if you could also just do as Anna proposed there. Thank you very much in advance. Right, let's get into the topic. So when you feel like people don't want to pay your prices, I mean, let's start really with the birth and baby business world is made up of empathetic people who are really passionate about what they do, whether that is providing antenatal, postnatal support, or maybe it's services for mothers and babies as they're kind of like as they're growing and connecting as families. So there's a lot of empathy there, and with that sometimes comes this belief or this idea that that people shouldn't pay, or that you shouldn't be asking too much. And I think that also plays into the whole NHS thing, where people are, a lot of the things that are offered within the birth and baby business world is provided on the NHS as well. So that does create this mindset over pricing and also over receiving money as well, for some people, not for everybody, but for some people.
Yeah, it's something we see a lot, isn't it? And I think as well, even just, there's a lot of feminism surrounding our money mindset and issues. And so ideas around that women traditionally haven't been paid for their caregiving roles much in the past, or have had, lower wages attached to those sorts of jobs. So I think there's a lot of stuff. It's completely normal to feel that people might not want to pay you for your services, or it might feel really uncomfortable to ask for money. But basically, we're here to help. We've got some tips on how you can overcome this and how you can make sure that you do get paid for the work that you do, and that you get paid properly, and that you can start feeling more comfortable about it. It is something that's a work in progress, isn't it? It's not something that happens overnight. Money mindset work is ongoing as a business owner, but you've got to get started, basically, if you want your business to thrive and be a success.
Definitely. So one thing that people can do is they can look at different pricing tiers, different structures in terms of the services that they're offering. So they can offer some things for free. Like, don't forget, even doing a really good freebie, or a taster session, or a short masterclass. If you do things like that for free, like that is you're offering a lot of value, you're offering some of your knowledge, and you're offering support as well. So don't forget that you do those things, and if you don't, then think about incorporating that into your business, because that's a really good way of connecting with people and sort of bringing them closer to you, closer to becoming clients. Then you can also have a low cost service. So it could be something like, I'm thinking about hypnobirthing instructors. So, for example, they might run a free hypnobirthing taster session, but then they might also run relaxation classes, which could be, like paid by the hour. So that could be their low cost offer. And then they could be offering their hypnobirthing group courses, because that could be their mid-price offer, and then their higher priced offer could be their one-to-one packages, which could include more than what they offer for their group, etc. But it's kind of standalone because it's a higher package because it's one-to-one as well. So that's one way of approaching it. So making sure that you are reaching people that you want to reach, who you know that potentially can't afford it. But at the same time, people who come to your relaxation classes and they get a taste of it might then go for the, if they go for the lower priced offer or service, they might then feed into your mid or your higher offer as well. So it's well worth considering and doing.
Yeah, we definitely recommend having a business model where you kind of diversify what you offer so that you haven't just got one offering. Having said that, there's some people like lactation consultants who work for me who they really, their work is mostly one-to-one. So with that, it's kind of just really making sure that you have priced yourself correctly so that you can earn a living from it. And for that, you have to look at what you need to earn and work backwards. And that's not really what today's about, but whenever you're starting a business, you have to come up with a bit of a business plan, even if it's just kind of typed out on a Google Doc. You have to have or better still a spreadsheet, so that you have an idea of, okay, this is what I need to make by, say, the end of the year or 6 months, or to make this viable, and then you sort of work backwards. So that has got to also feed into what you charge for your time and for your services, not just what you think people will pay. So but thinking about the structure, there's so many other structures that you can, if you're somebody who feels very strongly that some people can afford your services and some people can't, there's so many different ways that you can build that into a structure. I know that some people that I know have, for example, a group course or booking where they have a lower cost for people who may not be able to afford the full cost, and they have the full cost, and then they have a higher cost for people who would like to subsidize the lower cost people's place. So they have that sort of 3-tier. And I've bought things a few times where I've paid that higher price because I want to, because it's a bit like giving to charity or giving, helping out, and a lot of people want to do that. So
supporting
that is another option for structure. Yeah, sure, it's a little bit more complicated setup, but it could perhaps really, if those are your values, that you really want to make what you offer accessible to everybody, if that's very important to you, that could be one structure that could work. Another thing that could work on that, in that way of, that if it really means a lot to you that you want people to access your services for low cost or for free, then have a look and see what fundings and grants are available. There is a lot around. And it's a question of having a look. I know people who have got £10,000 for running their baby massage. I know people who have got contracts with their local GP surgeries. All sorts of things are available. You've just got to be willing to think outside the box. And there's lots of people who've worked with us who have got a CIC. So that in England, that is like a it's not a charity, but it's a not-for-profit, and it's a community interest company. That's what the CIC stands for. So that really can help you to apply for grants and get funding so that you can still get paid a wage. Pay yourself a wage, provide your services, and then often there'll be enough money to look after your business, premises, or whatever it is you might be, or hiring somewhere. So there really is a lot out there. If this is something that's so kind of, it's almost that really important to top value, there are options out there, definitely.
And I think it's probably something that a lot of people, they might get stuck on it, thinking that maybe they're not aware that there is funding out there, and also they don't, they're unsure like how to approach it or how to find it, and that's probably a totally different podcast. But doing a little bit of research in their local area and speaking to various bodies, I think would be a good place to start, or getting in touch with people that have achieved that themselves would also be helpful. Something I think which really plays into this is ideal client work. So understanding the people that you want to attract to your business. So if you are offering like a higher priced offer in the birth and baby world, there isn't often, things aren't actually that high priced. Like in our minds, we think that, this is really expensive. But for example, in the coaching world, a high ticket offer would be something that is in excess of £1,000. Whereas within the birth and baby world, you're probably looking at maybe the most expensive thing being like a doula package, or a one-to-one hypnobirthing course package, which might get up to £1,000 and may not. It depends on the area, depends on the person, depends on what the package is, etc. So try not to think of what you're offering as being too high end. You're offering something that is valuable and also takes up a lot of your time, your knowledge, and your expertise. So in terms of ideal client work, you really need to be focusing on the people who are, willing to pay that money. And it's not about focusing on people who've, got loads of money and loads of money to burn and etc. It's not necessarily those people that you're looking for.
No.
It is people who prioritize what it is that you offer. So if you're offering antenatal education, then it's people who prioritize that. And you need to communicate to them how valuable your offering is. And so it's a bit of ideal client work tied in with your messaging as well, like how you're communicating that on social media or in person when you're marketing as well.
Yeah, it can be helpful to think about what was the last time you really invested in something, and think about, okay, well, what was it? Why did I invest in that? Usually it's to solve a problem, something that you had in your mind. And why did I specifically choose that person? And most of the time it isn't going to be about money. I mean, sometimes there might be an option that's completely out of your reach. But usually it's because we connect with somebody, they're offering exactly what we're looking for, and you just feel like it has a good fit. And that's exactly what parents are looking for with you. And that all comes down to your messaging and how you communicate, not necessarily what you offer, as in first session we cover, I don't know, I'm thinking of birth here. First session we cover, second section, not that. That's not what they want to know. What they want to, they need, people buy with their feelings, they buy with their emotions. So we need to use that sort of ideal client work to really get to know who it is who's going to be buying from us, so that we can understand them and make sure that they understand that we can help them, and how they're going to feel after they've worked with us, and all of that kind of stuff. That's the sort of thing that's going to make a difference with people paying for your services. It all comes down to the messaging and the communication, and that's particularly true if you offer something that is not something that's traditionally sold. So, for example, if you're an NCT teacher, you're going to really ride that wave of, respectability. That it's got a great reputation, that everybody does it. It's you've got that history, and so you don't necessarily need to be selling what it is. I think that's sometimes true for hypnobirthing, in a way, in that people are more and more knowing what it is, but you still have got to be able to communicate what's different about your class, what you're offering, and how it's going to help them. And I agree with you, Liz. You have to really know who your ideal client is to be able to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, people make assumptions over what people will and won't pay as well. And if you're in that mindset, if you're assuming that people aren't going to pay a certain amount, even though you think it's worth it and your time's worth it, then people are going to pick up on that energy, and they're going to agree that it's not worth the price tag that you have put on it. And let's not forget that even if if we're talking about someone who's pregnant and preparing for birth, quite often this is like a bugbear I know that a lot of people who work in the birth world have, especially when they're doing birth preparation classes, is that they see that people are willing to invest in like the most up-to-date, like, pushchair or like cot or whatever is like the recent trend when it comes to babies, etc. But they're not willing to invest in their education. And I think a little bit of that is about the fact that there is limited antenatal support and education within the NHS, but because historically there has been, and it has, at times been better than it is right now. So people, assume that that's where they'll go to learn about preparing for birth. So it's really, again, goes back to communicating to people how preparing for birth is actually not just, I'm using that as an example, is not just about the birth itself, but it's actually much more than that, and it's worth much more than a bugaboo or whatever it is. Not to put people down for wanting to invest in things like that for their babies, but also communicating to people the value of what you do. And that can be applied to any birth and baby and any service that people are offering, not just antenatally, but postnatally and children's activities, etc. People are willing to invest.
And it's also really actually quite rude to make assumptions about what people can and can't afford, or what they shouldn't, and what they, it's not. It's
not helpful.
It isn't very polite to be able to make assumptions about presumptions about what people have got money for or haven't got money. That's not your job. Your job isn't to work out, oh, they've got enough money to pay for me, they haven't. It's not about that. It's about understanding that this is what you offer, this is why you offer it, this is how people are going to feel, and then letting them know, then they can decide if they want to come and buy it from you or not. But so often when people say, and if some people might be listening to this and thinking, well, some people said they can't afford it, and sometimes that's true. Some people do not have money to do something they want to do. That is absolutely true. But more often than not, there's something else underneath that. And what they're trying to say is, for me right now, I'm not prioritizing this with the money that I have. And that is, again, comes back to your messaging, your belief. And it can also be the stuff you were talking about, like just that energy. If your energy is, this isn't really, they're not really going to pay for this, is it really worth it? That's just going to be communicated. So, even
in some way,
just by your energy. So you've got to work on feeling that your services are 100% worth what you are, what you're putting out, what you're selling them for, and why, and what they're going to get, and all that kind of stuff. So it really does come down to you as communicators. Some people are going to be right for it, and some people aren't. But it's about more than just the money.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a great note to end it on. So thank you for joining us this week. We actually, before you go, just wanted to tell you about our amazing freebie that we have got coming up, which we will put a link in the show notes for you to sign up. It is for people who are looking to create sustainable businesses, to grow and develop within their businesses. They're here to think beyond, this year, but actually looking to make this business something that is going to provide for themselves and their family. So we're going to be running a 3-day event, which is going to be looking at different elements that's going to help you to create a business like that. So click in the link below, whether you're watching this on YouTube or listening on a podcast, and we'd love to see you there.
Yeah, it's going to be called 3 Days to Future-Proof Your Birth or Baby Business. So we'd absolutely love to see you in there. And just sign up from the link below. And we'll see you all next week.
Yay! Bye!
Bye!